This recording is for pre-algebra, chapter 3, lessons 4 and 5. Solving equations by adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing decimals. This should be review because basically it's just solving for a letter, but there just happens to be decimals instead of integers. So make sure you guys use your calculator so that you're getting the correct answer. Okay, so like always, we're trying to get the letter by itself, which means we're going to do the opposite operation. So if I have n plus 4.5 equals negative 9.7, the opposite of adding 4.5 is subtracting 4.5. So I'm going to minus 4.5. 4.5 minus 4.5 cancels out. N equals a negative minus a negative is really a negative plus a negative, which means it's going to be more negative. If I can get my thing to, there we go. So we're basically adding. So 7 plus 5 is 12. Carry the 1. That is 14.2. And it's a negative because the answer is even more negative. And you can use your calculator for that. I just did mental math. It's up to you. Okay. For number 2, we have 14.73 equals negative 24.23 plus b. So we're adding a negative 24.23. So the opposite of that is adding 24.23. But what I want to do to one side, I have to do to the other. This is going to cancel out, leaving me b. Let's add it up. 3 plus 3 is 6. That's 9. Again, I'm not using a calculator, but I want you guys to do that, to use a calculator. There we go. Okay, so b equals 36.96. All right, next one. We have n minus 5.83 equals 15.25. The opposite of subtraction is addition. So I'm going to add 0.85 on both sides. Because what I do to one side, I have to do the other. These cancel out, giving me n equals 5 plus 5 is 10. Carry the 1 and 2. That's 11. Carry the 1. That's also 11, carry the 1, that is 2. So n equals 21.1. Alrighty, next problem. Again, I want you guys to use your calculators on this. I'm just doing the math to show you if you can't remember, but definitely use your calculators. So we have negative 10 plus c equals negative 2.6. The opposite of minusing 2.6 is adding 2.6. So I'm going to add 2.6 on both sides. That cancels out. C equals... this is actually going to involve some subtraction. It's going to be 7.4. There we go. All right, on to a word problem. So, a store's cost plus markup is the price you pay for an item. Suppose a pair of shoes cost at the store $34.48, and you pay $70. Write and solve an equation to find the store's markup. So, if we paid $70, that is equal to the cost of the store plus the markup. The only thing is we don't know the markup. But the cost was $34.48. The markup we don't know, so it's plus x. So now we need to solve for x. So what is the opposite of adding 34.48? That would be subtracting 34.48. It's really hard to see, but there it is. What I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other. And I'm just going to bust out my calculator for this one, just to make it go a little faster. So 70 minus 34.48 is x. So x equals $35.52. So even though it cost the store $34.48, they're going to make a $35.52 profit off of you, because they have to make some money back. You know, they have to be able to pay their rent wherever they're selling their stuff. They have to pay their employees. So this is the money that the store uses to pay all of that other stuff. This is the money that they use to pay for the shoes. So they have to make that back, plus extra to do the extra expenses of the store. Okay, so Danielle wrote a check for $76.85. His new balance is $235.15. So if we have the amount before he wrote the check and we subtract $76.85, we're going to get the amount he has after he wrote the check. So there we go, and so the before is actually like an X. So what's the opposite of subtracting? That would be adding, so we're going to add $76.85 minus $76.85, and so the before, or also known as his previous balance, is going to be 235.15 plus Misty H. If we're adding on one side, we have to add on the other side, plus 76.85, which is going to give us $312. So that's how much he had in his account before he wrote the $76.85 check. All right, so word problem. You spend $14.95 on a new shirt. You now have $12.48. This is very much like the previous problem. How much did you have before you bought the shirt? So this is the amount you have before, minus the amount you spent on the shirt is going to equal the amount you have left, the amount you have after you bought the shirt. So you basically have X minus 14.95 is equal to 12.48. The opposite of minusing 14.94 is adding 14.95, or 95 anyway, plus 14.95. X, which is the amount you had before, is going to be 12.45 plus 14.95, which is $27.43. All right, now let's move on to some multiplying and dividing. All right, so just remember we're doing the opposite operation. So in number one, if we have 0.8x equals negative 1.6, the opposite of multiplying is dividing, so I'm going to divide. But what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. That cancels out, leaving me just x on the left, and negative 1.6 divided by 0.8 is going to give me negative 2. Okay? Alrighty. So next problem, we have negative 81.81 is equal to negative 0.9n. The opposite of multiplying by negative 0.9n is dividing by 0.9. Divide by negative 0.9. So we have a negative divided by a negative, which means n should be positive. And so 81.81 divided by 0.9, Misty H, not 0.09. 0.9 divided by 0.9 is 90.9. Okay? Next up, we have r divided by 6.0 equals 0.5. So the opposite of dividing by 6 is to multiply by 6. These cancel out. R equals 0.5 times 6 is 3. There you go. And then we have t divided by 4.5. The opposite of dividing by 4.5 is to multiply by 4.5. But what I do on one side, I have to do the other. Those cancel out, leaving me t. 4.5 times negative 80 is negative 360. All right, I have one more set of word problems, I believe, for you. So, actually 3 more word problems for you. An oil field, it's supposed to be field, not filed. An oil field produces an average of 16.8 thousand barrels of crude oil per day. About how many days will it take to produce 200,000 barrels? So since we're dealing with thousands of barrels, we can cross out that. So we have 16.8 times the number of days it will take to get 200 barrels. So if I divide by 16.8, divide by 16.8, 200 divided by 16.8 is roughly, so it's 11.9 days, but basically you're going to be, so 11 days, basically you're on the 12th day if you round up. 12 days. Okay, and you pay $7.70 to mail a package that weighs $5.5 pounds. Write and solve an equation. So basically, if you do 5.5 times, like P for pounds, or the price of per pound is going to equal 770. Divide by 5.5, divide by 5.5. 770 divided by 5.5 is P. That is $1.40 per pound. Okay, and last problem. Suppose your batting average is .222. You have batted 54 times. How many hits do you have? Well, the average is equal to the number of hits divided by the number of times at bat. So if the average is .22, that equals the number of hits, which actually we're just going to go ahead and make an H for now, hits, over the number of times at bat. Well, you've been at bat 54 times. So how do I solve for H? Well, what's the opposite of dividing by 54? That would be multiplying by 54. Multiply by 54. 54 times .22 is H equals 11.98, and you know what? We're just going to round to 12 hits because you don't have half a hit. We're not going to count bunts. Okay? All right, well, that's it, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.